Upon waking up, Zhou Sui became a low-level alchemist in the cultivation world. Fortunately, he obtained the precious Gu Shen Bowl, which could refine various Gu insects. Refining spring and autumn Gu can prolong life and immortality. Refining the Golden Cicada Gu, it can kill people, with flesh and white bones. Refining the Dragon Elephant Gu, obtaining the power of the Dragon Elephant, the body of the Dragon Elephant, and the indestructible diamond. But the Gu insect he first refined was the Infatuated Gu. From then on, he discovered a grand path of cultivation. Time changes, mountains and rivers change, only I have eternal life in the Zhou family. Keywords of the novel. Eternal Gu Dao. Starting from refining Infatuated Gu Dao without pop-ups, Eternal Gu Dao. Starting from refining Infatuated Gu Dao. Download the complete set of TXT. Eternal Gu Dao. Starting from refining Infatuated Gu Dao. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. This is the world of cultivating immortals. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. This is the world of cultivating immortals. My daughter, 18 years old, 165 meters tall, is a martial arts woman who wants to find a cultivator as her husband. At the age of 30, a mature female cultivator, due to her advanced age, only wants to find a mature male cultivator to spend the rest of her life together. The little girl cultivates one and enjoys being controlled by powerful cultivators. I heard that cultivators have strong abilities, and the young woman is a traditional woman who can be considered a minor. Brother of the cultivator, I have been in business for many years and have a wealthy family. I long to have children in groups. Mian City, in front of the 100 Flowers Tower. A group of beautiful women stood on the second floor, waving their eyes at the passing cultivators, causing them to frequently glance at those who had just embarked on the path of cultivation. This is a world of cultivators. Once you become a cultivator, you are a mortal immortal who can ascend to the sky in one step. Even an ordinary cultivator can live 100 years and possess a wealth of wealth. It can be said that becoming a cultivator automatically gives one the right to choose a partner, attracting countless mortal women to fly into the flames. Humph, a group of fairies, trying to destroy my Dao heart. Do ordinary women also want toads to eat swan meat? That's right, we cultivators with spiritual roots should pursue the path of immortality. How can we become addicted to such things? Without a woman in my heart, I cultivate a natural spirit. Numerous male cultivators passing by gritted their teeth, suppressing the palpitations in their hearts. They quickly left towards the distance of the 100 Flowers Tower, fearing that they would not be able to control them all, and thus fell for the path of these fairies. I'm afraid I'll fall into the hands of these women then. This is the world of cultivating immortals. In the distance, a young man about 18 years old watched this scene with an inexplicable expression on his face. For him, everything was incredibly fresh. His name is Zhou Sui and he is a traveler. He used to stay well in his original world, a typical otaku with a car and a house, and a very enjoyable life. But who would have thought that one time when he went hiking, he suddenly stumbled and fell off a cliff. As a result, he suddenly traveled to this world of cultivation and became an 18-year-old boy with the same name and surname as himself. The most devastating thing is that his predecessor's parents were late-stage cultivators of qi, but they died during a relic exploration, leaving him alone. Moreover, he is only a cultivator with a 9th-grade spiritual root, and so far he has only achieved one level of qi cultivation. It's probably not that easy to stay in Mian City, the city of scattered cultivation. After all, this is a lawless world of cultivation, where the weak prey on the weak and the strong prioritize the strong. Without strength, even if someone else kills you, no one can save you. Fortunately, his parents had already purchased a house in Mian City before, giving him a place to settle down. Otherwise, with his cultivation, he would definitely be kicked out of Mian City and homeless. So even if he sees these young sisters beautiful and charming, he is still unlucky and his family is so poor that they are almost out of rice. Thinking of this, Zhou Sui also quickened his pace and quickly left Baihua Tower to return to his own residence. "Oh, my dear nephew, you're back. How are you thinking about what we talked about last time?" At this moment, a middle-aged man with sharp-tongued monkey cheeks walked over with a smile and said kindly to Zhou Sui. "Uncle Lu, let's forget it. This house was left by my parents, and I still don't want to sell it." Zhou Sui immediately recognized the identity of the middle-aged man, who was named Lu Dong, a long-time friend of his former parents. However, after his parents died, Lu Dong's attitude changed. He tried to persuade himself to sell the house, saying that he had connections and could bribe the steward of the Xianxia sect to join and become an outsider disciple. You should know that Xianxia sect is a dominant sect in a nearby area of thousands of miles. The sect leader is also a golden core cultivator with unparalleled strength. If he can truly become a disciple of Xianxia sect, even if he is just an outsider, he will climb to the sky step by step. But as a person of 2 generations, Zhou Sui couldn't possibly see Lu Dong's thoughts. If it were really so easy to join the Xianxia sect, perhaps Lu Dong would have joined long ago and wouldn't have been able to get his turn. The reason why this old man said these words is simply because he has an interest in his own house. If he really sells this house, the spiritual stones he obtained may actually fall into his hands. It's uncertain whether one will die or live by then. So how could he foolishly fall for the other party's trap? Hey, virtuous nephew, you have to think carefully. If you miss this village, you won't have this shop anymore. This is an opportunity that uncle and I finally found. Lu Dong still strongly advised, according to your spiritual aptitude, if you practice alone, there may be no hope of building a foundation in your life. However, if you join the Xianxia sect, there may be a glimmer of hope and reach the path of immortality. No, I don't have any illusions about the Changsheng Avenue. Now I am the only child of the Zhou family, a single descendant of the 9th generation. My parents hope that I can be peaceful and open up branches and leaves for the Zhou family. As for cultivation, just go with the flow. Zhou then waved his hand. He didn't say much to the other party and immediately returned to his own house. To be honest, he is not afraid of Lu Dong taking action against him. After all, Miyun City is a famous city of scattered cultivation, established for 120 years, and supported by a foundation building and major repairs. Many scattered cultivators live here to maintain order. If they dare to take action in the city, they will definitely be detected and the other party will undoubtedly die. Lu Dong was uncertain, but he never dared to take action and could only watch Zhou Sui enter the house. Cut, Lu Dong, it seems that your nephew doesn't trust you very much. Do you want me to help you? At this moment, a middle-aged cultivator emerged from the shadow, with a fierce face and a murderous aura emanating from his body. It seemed like the kind of robbing cultivator who killed people like a horse. Shut up, do you dare to take action in Miyun City? Upon hearing this, Lu Dong let out a cold snort. The middle-aged cultivator was speechless. To be honest, he didn't dare to take action. After all, he didn't want to die either. He had a bright future, and there might be hope for building a foundation in the future. If it were really done here, it would be like dying with a little ghost. He's not so foolish. It's just a little devil who can improve his chi level. What's the point? Moreover, the opponent is only a 9th level spiritual root. It's considered good to be promoted to 6th level before the age of 50. It's impossible for him to threaten us in a short period of time. Lu Dong sneered and said, we don't need to be in such a hurry at all. As long as we plan slowly, this is a mansion worth thousands of spiritual stones. If we can get it, I'm afraid I can be promoted to the 8th or even 9th level of chi cultivation in a short period of time. His eyes showed a hint of ambition. Jia, I didn't expect you to be so ruthless. Aren't you a friend of his parents? The middle-aged cultivator Jia smiled and said. It's just a nodding acquaintance. Even if it's a friend, there are people who abandon their wives and children for the sake of longevity. What's the point of me? Lu Dong sneered and said, we can't take action in Mian City. Let's find a way to lead this kid out of Mian City. We'll be able to get rid of him without anyone noticing. After speaking, the two quickly left the place. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Treasure Gu Shen Bowl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The Treasure Gu Shen Bowl. Inside the house, Zhou Sui's face began to darken. Although he was unaware of Lu Dong's conversation with a middle-aged cultivator outside, he had no idea of the malice of his parents' former friends. Perhaps due to the relationship with the interloper, his soul power is particularly strong, so he can perceive the good and evil of the other party. Even the slightest malice in the other party's heart will be detected by him. So from beginning to end, he never trusted Lu Dong at all. However, the malice of a cultivator with 7 levels of qi cultivation is still too terrifying, it is simply as evident in his mind. Indeed, the city of Mian does not allow cultivators to take action within the city, but there are also countless adventurous cultivators emerging. The saying goes, with a sharp weapon in one's arms, one's heart begins to kill. If the other party really can't bear it anymore, then their own little life is at risk. Even in the world of a past life, in a country with good security, murders still happen from time to time. Therefore, he naturally cannot place his hope on the thoughts of others. The materials are almost ready, it's time to refine Gu. At this moment, with a big wave of his hand, Zhou Sui immediately saw a dark golden bowl on his hand, with dense patterns emerging on it, containing an unfathomable aura. And this is his biggest secret, this is the most precious Gu Shen Bowl. When he had just crossed over to this world, the Gu God Bowl was bound to his own soul. It seemed that his ability to cross this world was perhaps due to this precious treasure. The ability of this treasure is also very simple, which is to use various materials to refine different Gu insects. For example, the spring and autumn Gu with the ability to live forever, the Golden Cicada Gu with the ability to kill human flesh and bones, the Dragon Elephant Gu with the power of dragons and elephants, and so on. Each type of heaven and earth Gu insect contains incredible power. If these Gu insects can be refined, then becoming an immortal ancestor is completely effortless. The problem is that he is just a poor ghost now, unable to extract these rare materials. Not to mention these top-level Gu insects, even ordinary Gu insects cannot be refined. And most importantly, ordinary Gu bug is unable to solve their current predicament. This is a threat from qi cultivation cultivators at the 7th level. How can ordinary Gu bug handle it? So Zhou Sui thought, and finally obtained a message of a Gu insect from the precious Gu God Bowl, which was the Infatuated Gu. The method of refining this Gu insect is very simple. As long as you obtain the forgotten grass, add yin and yang flowers, and 100 inferior spirit stones, you can refine this Gu insect. Moreover, in this world, forgetful herbs and yin-yang flowers can also be found everywhere. They are not rare spiritual medicines, and only a few dozen inferior spiritual stones can be purchased at the medicinal herb shop in Mian City. Just now when he left home, he went to buy these 2 spiritual medicines. However, even so, due to the death of his parents, there were not many spiritual stones left in the house. If this spiritual stone was used up, he would soon have no money to buy rice. So this matter can only succeed, not fail. Let's get started. Thinking of this, Zhou Sui did not hesitate and immediately took out the prepared materials from himself, put them into the Gu Shen Bowl, and at the same time invested 100 inferior spirit stones. Wow! In an instant, a mysterious chaotic airflow surged out, completely refining these materials and burning a large amount of spirit stones. Immediately after, countless energies melted together, and a black and white Gu insect suddenly appeared in the Gu God Bowl. Obviously, the Infatuated Gu has been successfully refined. The next second, the Gu insect penetrated into its own body and then entered its own heart, seemingly merging with it. Then a massive amount of information instantly plunged into the depths of Zhou Sui's consciousness. The infatuated Gu is one of the extraordinary Gu in heaven and earth. It contains the power of yin and yang in its body and can give birth to many sub-Gu. If these sub-Gu enter the opposite sex's body, it will make the opposite sex develop admiration for you. The longer it lasts, the more infatuated it becomes, and it will remain steadfast until death. Description: the power of love is the greatest, it is a power that can produce miracles. Love your Taoist deeply, and you will find that it is omnipotent. I succeeded. Zhou Sui suddenly felt a sense of joy and immense excitement in his heart. He felt the power of the infatuated Gu wandering in his heart, seemingly subtly changing his body. Obviously, despite spending so much spiritual stone, he successfully refined the infatuated Gu. This is his first step in changing the predicament. With the infatuated Gu, you can find a Taoist couple. Perhaps you can find Mrs. Hu, the steward of Baihua Tower, Mrs. Zhao of Zhenbao Pavilion, or Mrs. Chen of Danyao Pavilion, or Mrs. Qian of Baifu Shop. It is said that they are all elderly unmarried leftover women, and they all yearn for a thrilling love story. Zhou then touched his chin. He remembered these older female cultivators, each in their 40s and 50s, and their cultivation had reached the 9th level of qi cultivation, almost touching the foundation building realm with just one step. Although she is a bit older, she has excellent maintenance and looks similar to a girl of 17 or 18 years old. Her charm still lingers, which is not something that a little girl can compare to. The Sodat called third year of female college, embracing golden bricks, a woman in her 30s, sending her to the mountains and rivers, 300 daughters, sending fairy pills, a female college student of 3,000 ranks among the immortal class. This is what really happens in the cultivation world, and powerful female cultivators are also everywhere. You should know that women can climb up powerful male cultivators, fly onto branches and become phoenixes, reversing their own destiny. So men can do the same. It is not feasible to solve a cultivator who cultivates 7 levels of qi in a short period of time, relying on his cultivator and qualifications. He doesn't have so much time for cultivation either. Who knows when Lu Dong will take action against him? He doesn't want to pin his hope on Lu Dong's kindness. So Zhou Sui came to think about it. If he could find a Taoist priest who can practice qi for 9 levels, wouldn't he be able to solve Lu Dong in minutes? To ensure one's own safety. To be honest, this is also the only solution he can think of. He can't beat Lu Dong, but there are cultivators everywhere who are stronger than Lu Dong. Of course, under normal circumstances, even if these female cultivators were older leftover women, they would definitely not look up to him. After all, he is just a 9th grade spiritual root cultivator with a first level of qi cultivation, just a rookie among the rookies. To win the favor of these powerful female cultivators, isn't that a foolish person talking in their dreams? After all, little white faces are everywhere in the world, and they have long been accustomed to it. But now it's different. With the power of the infatuated Gu, it can turn decay into magic, making these female cultivators fall in love with themselves. At that time, not only can he eat soft rice, but he can also eat soft rice hard. However, at present, only one child of Gu can be bred. It seems that we need to find opportunities to interact with these older female cultivators, otherwise there will be no chance to plant infatuated Gu. Zhou Sui pondered on his next plan. Although this behavior is a bit despicable, he can only resort to this tactic in order to survive. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Renting Sister, Love at First Sight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Renting Sister, Love at First Sight. 3 days passed in an instant. Zhou Sui had a gloomy expression on his face. He had already made sufficient preparations and planned to find these elderly unmarried female cultivators to be a little white-faced and enjoy the feeling of being taken care of. However, these female cultivators are all in high positions of power, which is not something that a small cultivator with a layer of qi can come into contact with. If you can't even touch your face, then don't think of using the infatuated Gu. It's like no matter how powerful the dragon slaying technique is, without dragons in the world, it's useless. However, he is not in a hurry. If he really can't get in touch, finding other female cultivators in the later stage of qi cultivation is also a solution. Anyway, the power of the infatuated Gu can only affect one female cultivator. Dong dong dong. At this moment, there were bursts of knocking at the courtyard gate. He walked towards the outside of the yard, opened the door, and immediately 3 charming nuns appeared in front of the door. The air was filled with a fragrant scent that was refreshing and pleasant. Without a doubt, these 3 nuns are all great beauties, comparable to those movie stars in their past lives. They have fair skin, beautiful appearance, and explosive figures, like fairies descending from the sky. They are more charming than those sisters from Baihua Tower. But their aura was obviously extraordinary, at least they were all cultivators in the later stage of qi cultivation. May I ask if we are recruiting tenants here? We only need 50 lower-grade spirit stones per month. At this moment, a long-legged lady spoke, her voice clear and pleasant, like a lark. That's right, do you want to rent together? Zhou Sui raised an eyebrow. In fact, he wanted to rent out his yard as a charterer to earn spiritual stones because he was short of money but lacked the ability to do so. After all, this courtyard covers an area of 300 square meters, with 7 or 8 rooms inside, which is completely enough to accommodate 8 monks. You should know that entering Mian City to live is not as simple as imagined. Ordinary houses require at least hundreds of inferior spirit stones for a month, while slightly better ones may require 200 to 300 inferior spirit stones. So the price of 50 lower-grade spirit stones can definitely be considered as good quality and affordable. To be honest, fortunately, Zhou Sui's parents were clever and bought this house before the housing prices in Mian City skyrocketed, giving him a place to settle down in Mian City. Otherwise, he would have to be driven out of Mian City and wander on the streets. Yes, our sisters are all friars from other places. They want to live in Mian City for the time being and have found many houses. If your house is satisfactory to us, we will rent it. Long-legged senior sister explained. At this moment, these 3 women are secretly transmitting messages. Sister G, what do you think of this courtyard? To be honest, it's not bad. We only need 50 lower-grade spirit stones per month, which is half the price on the market. Although we don't currently lack spirit stones, saving a little is naturally a bit. Yes, and the owner of this yard is just like the rumor. He is just a little friar who can practice qi. He can't pose any threat to us. If he really plots against us, he can kill us easily. Although cohabiting with a man can be a bit troublesome, we may not necessarily stay in Mian City for too long. If we find the opportunity to build a foundation, we may be able to leave here. That's right, if the yard is still in good condition, we can rent it directly. The 3 women whispered and commented on the environment of this house. These 3 female cultivators are not easy. At this moment, Zhou Sui naturally looked up and down at these 3 female cultivators. To be honest, when it comes to their physique and appearance, they were much better than those birds and swallows in the 100 Flowers Tower. Their temperament was like that of a big family background. Of course, he paid more attention to their strength. Undoubtedly, the leader of the long-legged Imperial Sisters cultivation must have reached the 9th level of qi cultivation. Although the other party practiced the technique of restraining qi, they could not conceal their soul perception. The other 2 female cultivators, although not as good as the long-legged Imperial Sister, are at least cultivators above the 7th level of qi cultivation. Perhaps we can plant infatuation on them. At that time, he will have cultivators in the later stage of qi cultivation as his support. After all, he couldn't get close to those ladies now, but now he has the opportunity to come into contact with the female cultivators in the later stage of qi cultivation, which is really great luck. If I miss this village, I'm afraid we won't have this shop anymore. Thinking of this, Zhou Sui did not hesitate. With a movement in his heart, the infatuated Gu on his body flew out in an instant, appearing transparent and devoid of any aura. The next second, it instantly disappeared into the long-legged lady, and the other party did not notice anything. This is the strength of the infatuated Gu, which can enter a person's body silently and without a trace, and ignore any defense, which can be said to contain infinite mysteries. By the time the other party truly realizes it, their emotions will have already deeply rooted. In that case, you can come and take a look at the room first. After finishing all of this, Zhou Sui suddenly relaxed. He had already finished everything, and now let's see if the infatuated Gu was as powerful as rumored. At this moment, he invited the other party into the courtyard. What's going on? At this moment, the long-legged imperial sister also noticed a strange change in her body. Originally, she had no feelings for Zhou Sui, but was just an ordinary little cultivator practicing qi. Compared to one's own age, the other person is just a little brother. But now, for some reason, as she looked at Zhou Sui, her heart suddenly beat, as if a youthful romance had just begun, and her pretty face began to blush unconsciously. I don't know why, but Zhou Sui's originally ordinary facial features have now become exceptionally handsome. Every move, every word, is full of unimaginable charm. Even a gentle word seems to be full of a man's charm. No, what's wrong with me? How could you do this to a stranger male cultivator? I have never had such a feeling before. Did this guy use any magic on himself? But this is also impossible. If she really used her magic, the cultivator who practiced the 9th level of qi in the hall could not be unaware, and the other party could not hide it from her. That is to say, it can only be oneself who has a problem, as if this is legendary love at first sight. It's simply unbelievable that an old woman in her 30s would say something to an 18-year-old boy. Thinking of this, her stunning swan face turned completely red, and her body temperature also rose, feeling as if she had a fever. Sister, what's wrong with you? At this moment, the two female cultivators next to them also noticed something was wrong with the long-legged imperial sister and couldn't help but ask curiously. No, it's okay. This house is pretty good, I'm very satisfied. Let's just rent it out. The long-legged elder sister managed to suppress her unusual emotions, so she couldn't lose face in front of her two sisters. Good. Although the two nuns were full of doubts, they had already set their sights on this house. Since their sister had made a decision, they would not refuse. By the way, my name is Bingyu, and these two are my younger sisters Mu Zian and Xia Jingyan, long-legged imperial sister introduced, stating her name is Bingyu. Okay, my name is Zhou Sui. Zhou Sui nodded, indicating that both sides had already met. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Something seems to be wrong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Something seems to be wrong. Late at night, Zhou Sui sat cross-legged on the ground, operating the unparalleled technique. Gu Nerve. Obtained from the precious Gu Divine Bowl. This technique can refine countless Gu insects in the world and use them for himself, which can be said to be infinitely useful and can be called a divine level technique. While between heaven and earth, strands of spiritual energy flooded into his body, entering his meridians, causing the true elements in his body to gradually increase. Slow, it's really too slow. After operating for 108 weeks, Zhou then opened his eyes and stopped practicing. His face showed a helpless expression, and the efficiency of increasing true elements in his body was too slow. Even though he is practicing divine level techniques, if he wants to be promoted to the second level of qi cultivation, it won't take him 2 or 3 years, and he won't be able to do it at all. The reason for this situation is that his qualifications are too expensive, only a 9th level spiritual root. You should know that there are also differences in qualifications in this world, ranging from 9th grade spiritual roots to 1st grade spiritual roots, with 9th grade being the second best and 1st grade being the best. The 9th to 7th grade is the lower grade spiritual root, the 6th to 4th grade is the medium grade spiritual root, and the 3rd to 1st grade is the upper grade spiritual root. To join a sect like Xianxia sect, one must at least have a moderate spiritual root. As for the lower level spiritual roots, they can only do casual cultivation, as no sect will accept them as disciples. Beyond the first level spiritual root is the heavenly spiritual root. Reaching this level, if you have a heavenly spiritual root, people from various major sects will flock to you, because cultivators with heavenly spiritual roots are bound to become foundation-building cultivators, and even golden core cultivators have a great possibility. However, there are very few people with such qualifications. Anyway, he has never seen such a top genius before. Forget it, if you don't practice anymore and continue to practice hard, there won't be any progress in your cultivation. Zhou Sui was very helpless. He now knows how difficult it is for those with low qualifications to cultivate immortals. Every time they make progress, they need to consume a lot of time. Even if they die of old age, they cannot be promoted to the level of practicing qi at the 9th level, let alone become a foundation-building cultivator. Unless there are various spiritual medicines and pills to assist, cultivation cannot be achieved in a short period of time. No wonder my predecessor didn't enjoy practicing very much. No matter how much I practiced, I couldn't make progress and had no sense of achievement. Anyone would be discouraged by this torture. Whoosh! Thinking of this, Zhou Sui left his room and went to the yard to relax and vent his frustration. Zhou Daoyu. But at this moment, a beautiful figure had already appeared in the yard, dressed in white pajamas, revealing a proud figure, like a beauty under the moonlight. She is the long-legged imperial sister Ji Bingyu. Originally, it was Ji Daoyu. It was a long night, can't Ji Daoyu also fall asleep? Seeing such a senior sister, Zhou Sui almost couldn't hold it back, his blood boiling, but he still endured it. After all, the other party was a cultivator in the later stage of qi cultivation. If you completely offend the other party, even if you are killed, there is no place to reason. Although he has planted infatuation on the other party, it is difficult to say when it will take effect, and he still needs to act cautiously no matter what. Yeah, is Zhou Daoyu the same as me? Ji Bingyu took a deep breath, and the moment she saw Zhou Sui, she felt her heart almost beating out. Because the thought of being under the same roof as this man makes my heart tense and accelerate, I often have wild thoughts. Originally, I should have entered a state of cultivation, but no matter what I do, I cannot enter a state of cultivation. So she had to walk out of her room, but she never expected to meet Zhou Sui, who happened to walk out of her room. Is this what is called fate? At this thought, her pretty face immediately turned red, and her heart was constantly beating faster. However, Zhou Sui did not notice the other person's abnormality and replied, "Yes, practicing is really too difficult." After several hours of hard work, his cultivation cannot improve, and he felt depressed. That's why he wanted to leave the room for a walk. He was very helpless. If he could improve his spiritual root qualifications, it would definitely not be as difficult to cultivate as it is now. Zhou Daoyu, don't worry. Practice is always difficult first and then easy. As long as you overcome this difficulty, I believe Zhou Daoyu will surely have a bright future. I believe that Zhou Daoyu will definitely become a foundation-building cultivator in the future, and even a Jindan immortal. Ji Bingyu felt like her heart was about to jump out. Looking at Zhou Sui's distressed expression, she was extremely excited. Cute, this man's distressed expression was really adorable. How could there be such a lovely man in the world? I really want to hold him in my arms and love him fiercely. In her eyes, Zhou Sui was now like a wronged cat and a little dog, and her inner compassion and love were constantly emerging, almost beyond her control. Thank you, Ji Daoyu, for your kind words. Upon hearing these words, Zhou Sui's mood immediately improved. It seemed that the effect of this infatuated Gu was indeed good, at least increasing the other party's favorability towards him. Perhaps in a while, the intimacy between oneself and the other person will continue to rise. But then again, you have ordinary qualifications, Taoist friend. It seems that your parents have also passed away, and your cultivation is only a layer of qi cultivation. I'm afraid living in Mian City is also very difficult. Ji Bingyu's words changed. It was indeed difficult, but fortunately my parents left me a house and I could barely make ends meet with the rent, Zhou Sui admitted. Perhaps it can sustain a living, but Dao Yu is only practicing qi, and owning a valuable house in Mian City may also be targeted by many unscrupulous cultivators. Ji Bingyu has a certain meaning. As Ji Dao Yu said, there are indeed many people with ulterior motives. Fortunately, the security in Mian City is quite good, and no one dares to attack me yet. If my cultivation improves, perhaps there will be fewer people coveting me. Zhou Sui Dao. Cultivation improvement. According to the qualifications of the Taoist friend, when can one improve their cultivation? If their cultivation hasn't improved yet, the Taoist friend will probably be assassinated by the unscrupulous scattered cultivators. I actually think that Tao Yu may need to find a support to keep this house. Ji Bingyu's beautiful eyes flickered. What does it mean? Zhou Sui was a bit confused, although he vaguely guessed something in his heart, he dared not admit it. Dao Yu is also a smart person. You must be well aware that my Ji Bingyu is a cultivator who cultivates 9 levels of qi. Even if you look at the entire Mian City, apart from building a foundation for major repairs, no one can do anything about me. If you have my protection, you can naturally rest assured and practice with peace of mind, Taoist friend. If the rest of the cultivators want to covet you, they have to ask if the sword in my hand is not sharp enough. Ji Bingyu smiled and said. This. Zhou Sui was completely bewildered, and he began to feel that something was going wrong. Now, the long-legged imperial sister in front of him seemed to have become a villain, eyeing him with intent to intimidate and seize this blooming girl. Although he wants to have something to do with this long-legged lady, it's not in this way. Zhou Dao Yu, don't hesitate. Even if you don't comply today, you still have to comply. To be honest, I've been wanting you since I first saw you. Ji Bingyu was very domineering, so she grabbed Zhou Sui horizontally and walked towards the room. You. Zhou Sui tried his best to struggle, but as a small cultivator with 1 level of qi cultivation, he was no match for a cultivator with 9 levels of qi cultivation. His weak resistance only made the woman even more excited. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Promotion of Qi Training Level 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Promotion of Qi Training Level 2. One night passed, and the wind and rain suddenly subsided. The bedding in the room was chaotic, and clothes were scattered everywhere. It can be imagined that the intensity of the battle last night can be imagined. A poor man appeared on the bed with a pale face and a weak body, and next to him was a contented long-legged elder sister. They are naturally Zhou Sui and Ji Bingyu. While at this moment, Zhou Sui felt a surge of information surging into his consciousness. You and the Taoist couple practiced 7 times last night, and our hearts were connected, and our love grew stronger. You gained a certain level of swordsmanship experience, and your spiritual root qualifications were improved to a certain extent. You have gained the opponent's Yuan power, and your cultivation has been elevated to the 2nd level of qi cultivation. At this moment, he felt a large amount of true elemental power surging out of his body, instantly penetrating a meridian, and the power in his body was much stronger than before. Originally, he needed 2 or 3 years of hard work to elevate to the level of qi cultivation on the 2nd level. But now, it's just a few double cultivation sessions, and surprisingly, it has greatly improved my cultivation, elevating it to the 2nd level of qi cultivation, saving years of hard work. It can be imagined how great the benefits are. Wait, gain swordsmanship experience. Improve your spiritual root qualifications. Is this the hidden power of the infatuated Gu? Zhou Sui was immediately taken aback. Suddenly, he obtained an important piece of intelligence from the infatuated Gu, which was that the power of the infatuated Gu was not just enough to make the nun fall in love with him. If the other party cultivates both, the more love they have, the more benefits they can gain. He can gain an increase in cultivation from female cultivators, gain various cultivation experiences from the other party, and even enhance the qualifications of his spiritual roots, which can be said to be infinitely useful. Of course, this kind of thing is mutual, and the woman can also benefit from him accordingly. But currently, due to Zhou Sui's low cultivation level, he naturally gained the most benefits. If that's the case, then the more monks I have, the faster my cultivation speed will be. Zhou Sui immediately thought of one of the uses of the infatuated Gu. He was originally troubled by how to improve his spiritual root qualification. If he had many monks, the speed of his spiritual root qualification improvement would be even more terrifying. At that time, his 9th level spiritual root can be promoted to 8th level spiritual root, 7th level spiritual root, or even 1st level spiritual root. Even the heavenly spirit root is not afraid to think. If one truly possesses the heavenly spirit root qualification, then cultivating oneself can be considered a smooth path. Don't worry, Xianggong. I will take responsibility for you. Tomorrow, we will hold a wedding to announce to the world. Bingyu hugged Zhou Sui and said with a satisfied expression. She felt an unprecedented happiness in her heart at this moment, as if she had lived in vain before. Indeed, taking the initiative is the right thing to do, otherwise such a lovely man would definitely be taken away by other bad women. The best choice for such a man is to fall into his own hands. What? Upon hearing these words, Zhou Sui's mouth twitched. How could he feel that their roles seemed to have reversed, as if he had become the little woman being bullied by the bully? I only took advantage of the other party and gave it back to myself for the first time. But he didn't refuse either. After all, it was also a good thing for him. After all, only by getting married is it a legal double cultivation. Moreover, getting married between monks is also very simple. There is no registration with the Civil Affairs Bureau. As long as a wedding banquet is held and everyone blesses them, it can be considered a symbol of becoming a Taoist couple. Alright, since you didn't refuse, then let's assume you agreed. Now, take a good rest. You were also tired last night. Bingyu quickly put on her clothes and left the bed. After all, she is a cultivator with 9 levels of qi cultivation, and her physical fitness and cultivation are much stronger than Zhou Sui's. Even after several rounds of double cultivation, she remained energetic and without any signs of fatigue. At this moment, in the hall of the house, Mu Zian and Xia Jingyan had been waiting for a long time. They looked at Bingyu, who had just walked out of Zhou Sui's bedroom with a strange expression on their faces. After all, they were not fools, but also cultivators in the later stage of qi cultivation. Last night, there was so much noise that they couldn't have missed it. Sister Ji, you're so amazing. Did you take action on that man so quickly? Did you force yourself to bow? You are indeed a role model for us women. Mu Zian looked at Bingyu with admiration on her face. In the past, it used to be men who forcefully arched against women, but now, it is women who forcefully arched against men. It can be imagined that Sister Ji is truly a role model for women, and women are not inferior to men. There's no way. If such a lovely man doesn't take action early, he might be taken away by other bad women. Bingyu's pretty face turned red. To be honest, she also felt that her behavior was too bold, as if it was a bit different from her previous personality. But this is love at first sight. When you see something you like, you buy it. When you see a man you like, you grab it. You dare to love and hate, and you don't even care about societal biases. That's her Bingyu. Sister Ji, what's good about this man? He's not handsome, and his aptitude is average. He's just a little cultivator who trains his energy. Xia Jingyan looked puzzled and didn't think Zhou Sui had any charm. You should know that Bingyu has countless pursuers, and even some sect cultivators have pursued her, but she refused and completely ignored her. But now, it's unbelievable that Sister Ji has taken a liking to just a small cultivator who practices qi. Of course, she didn't think it was Zhou Sui's fault. He was just a cultivator practicing qi, and even if he had the means, he couldn't help but win over his sister. Sister Xia, what's there to ask? Everyone has their own preferences for vegetables and radishes, and Sister Ji likes this one. Mu Zian said loudly, it's just a man. If you're interested, you're already interested. Do you need any more reasons? If you're not satisfied, just give up. She felt that this was Sister Ji's personality, like an empress. Why can those men have 3 wives and 4 concubines, show mercy everywhere, and women can do the same? Cluck, you don't understand. I think this man is very special, giving me an unprecedented feeling, different from other men, so I fell in love with him. Anyway, tomorrow I will hold a wedding banquet with him and form a Taoist couple. Anyway, my parents are no longer here and there's no need for anyone else to care. If you like them, get married. Bingyu smiled slightly. Yes, Sister Ji. Mu Zian also looked at Bingyu with admiration. This was the elder sister she admired. She dared to love and hate, even though it was just the first time she met a man, she dared to marry her. Is this a mature woman? It's really too domineering to be different from a woman like myself who hasn't had much experience in life. Upon careful consideration, it is the same. They have become alchemists and have long been different from ordinary people, so naturally they do not need to follow the rules and regulations of ordinary people. If you can't do whatever you want, then why bother cultivating immortals? End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Wise nephew, you can't grasp this woman. You are listening at novel full.audio. Chapter 6. Wise nephew, you can't grasp this woman. The next day, Zhou Sui sent wedding invitations to his neighbors around him. After all, some of the neighbors around us have known each other for over 10 or 20 years. Although it may not be a good relationship, they can still be considered acquaintances, so we can also invite them over to a wedding banquet. And these neighbors have also known Zhou Sui for over a decade, and from the perspective of past relationships, they all came to attend the wedding. Even his parents' former friend Lu Dong invited him. Anyway, he hasn't had a falling out with Lu Dong yet, and naturally won't forget this former friend of his parents. Of course, the most important thing is that Zhou Sui also wanted to use this matter to shake the mountain and let Lu Dong know that he now has the support of a cultivator who cultivates 9 levels of qi, which is not easy to provoke. He quickly gave up his bad idea. Dear nephew, what's going on here? Why did you find the Taoist couple so quickly? And she's also a female cultivator who practices qi at the 9th level. Upon hearing this news, Lu Dong was momentarily stunned, like a bolt from the blue. Even if he thought about it, he couldn't imagine that his virtuous nephew had found a beautiful woman who had practiced 9 levels of qi. It was simply a fantasy. Normally, it is impossible for a female cultivator who has practiced 9 levels of qi to look up to a small cultivator who has practiced 1 level of qi. The difference between the two is so great that it is almost immeasurable. When he first heard this news, he thought it was a joke. Uncle Lu, it's all fate. The day before yesterday, she came to my house to rent a house. Unexpectedly, we fell in love at first sight, destined for 3 lives, so we decided to become a Taoist couple. The mysteries of the world are unpredictable, but that's all. Zhou Sui said with great emotion. Dear nephew, you need to think twice. Lu Dong earnestly dissuaded, this woman can cultivate to the 9th level of qi cultivation, and she is probably older than your parents. This woman is clearly an old ox eating tender grass. As a young person, you still have a bright future. How could you fall into the hands of such an old woman? You can't control such an old woman at all, it's not something you as a young person can control. And you just met just now, this woman actually wants to marry you. Her actions are really too fast, I believe she has ulterior motives. Be careful not to lead a wolf into the house. He is simply burning with anxiety. After all, if Zhou Sui really marries this female cultivator, then he will have no chance. Faced with the threat of the 9th level cultivator practicing qi, he has no chance of winning. I didn't expect things to develop to this extent even if I killed him. Undoubtedly, this woman is not interested in this young man, but, like herself, is interested in this mansion. This woman has ulterior motives. God TM fell in love at first sight. I'm afraid he fell in love with this house at first sight. Uncle Lu was too worried. I'm just a penniless little cultivator, how could she possibly have ulterior motives towards me? I know your concerns, but we are in love. This relationship can be witnessed by the sun and moon, and by heaven and earth. You don't need to say anything more. If you're willing, Uncle Lu can stay and take a sip of the wine. If you're not willing, then forgive me for not sending it far away. Zhou Sui showed a long-lost and enchanted appearance, bestowed by his soul. You. Upon hearing these words, Lu Dong's lungs were filled with anger. It was truly a dog biting LV Dongbin, unaware of good intentions. Despite his diligent persuasion, he was still so disrespectful. But he had no other choice. He was not Zhou Sui's father and had no legitimate reason to oppose this marriage. He had no choice but to leave the wedding banquet, not to look at it. Jie, Lu Daoyu, it seems that your plan has been completely shattered. Who could have imagined the sudden appearance of a beautiful woman show? I already asked you to take action early, but you're still hesitating. Isn't it that someone else has picked a peach now? A middle-aged man appeared near Lu Dong, and the two were also good friends, colluding in collusion. Naturally, he knew Lu Dong's predicament and immediately began to mock him. Fool, that kid is just a fool. Lu Dong was so angry that he was already furious that he cursed loudly. That silly kid didn't even think carefully about why a beautiful woman with 9 levels of qi cultivation could take a liking to him. He really thought he had infinite charm and said that he was in love with each other. It was like laughing to death. That woman was not even interested in that valuable mansion. Thanks to my various reminders, this kid is still unmoved, with a look of being deceived by the fat. He will eventually die on that woman's belly. He was so regretful now that his heart turned green. If he had known that a woman had cut off her beard halfway, he would have taken action against Zhou Sui long ago. Unfortunately, it's already too late to say anything now. Being stared at by the nun, he couldn't do anything. That woman is also quite ruthless. Even though she is beautiful and has extraordinary cultivation, she can still be humble and willing to marry that little boy. The city is extremely deep. The middle-aged man sighed and said. To be honest, he has seen that bride, with fair skin and beautiful appearance, as well as long legs. She is definitely a stunning beauty. If you come from a sect, you may also be some kind of fairy or saint. But now, it's unbelievable to be willing to give up to a little kid. Even though he knew that the woman had ulterior motives for that boy's house, he was extremely jealous. It was unreasonable for Zhou Sui to have taken over such a beautiful woman. This old man is really unfair. Can having a house win the favor of a nun? The reason why that woman was able to achieve such cultivation is probably because she has done so many things. She probably relied on her beauty to kill one male cultivator after another, in order to obtain the other's wealth. There are too many similar black widows. In order to earn some cultivation resources, those black widows are ruthless and ruthless. Lu Dong is also very wary of Bingyu. He comes from a casual training background and has also seen similar women before. These women are all ruthless and skilled at using their beauty and physique to obtain resources. I don't know how many male cultivators fall into each other's hands. It is precisely because he has seen so many similar things that he has long been immune to mice. Unless there is a path of immortality, no woman can shake his heart. TSK, if you say that, your virtuous nephew is doomed to die. Sooner or later, he will be recruited and killed. What will you do next? The middle-aged man said with a click. That can only be giving up. After all, the other party is a cultivator who cultivates 9 layers of qi, and I can't afford to provoke them. Lu Dong was helpless. Although it may seem like he is in the 7th level of qi cultivation, which is only 2 small realms away from the 9th level, it is actually a huge difference. The opponent can hit themselves more than 10 times with just one, and the difference in strength is too great. If we meet in the wilderness, a single encounter can instantly capture us. How could you be willing to give up? The middle-aged man was a bit surprised. I have been constantly interrupted and have been affected by the chaos. The reason why I have been able to survive for such a long time is because I have cultivated this level with my 7th grade spiritual root, and it is because of the word go. There is no need to fight against such a great cultivator, just look for other opportunities. Lu Dong was helpless. He is just someone who bullies the weak and fears the hard. Faced with more powerful cultivators, he instinctively becomes a shrinking turtle. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Wedding Ceremony, Old Cows Eating Young Grass. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Wedding Ceremony, Old Cows Eating Young Grass. At this moment, Bingyu also noticed the scene just now. Xianggong, was that person Lu Dong you mentioned earlier? Bingyu secretly transmitted the message. That's right. Zhou Sui did not conceal it. This person was once a good friend of my father, but after my parents' death, they often tried to force me to sell the house. If it weren't for staying in Meng City, I'm afraid I would have been harmed by this person long ago. It's true that one knows the face but not the heart. Even though they have been friends for many years, they actually plan to harm their friend's son for the sake of a house. Damn it. Bingyu's beautiful eyes showed a hint of killing intent. She is not a local cultivator in Meng City, but came here from tens of thousands of miles away. If she can improve her cultivation to this level, she is naturally not an ordinary female cultivator. Hard-hearted and ruthless, that is an essential quality for casual cultivators. Without any skills, it is impossible to cross tens of thousands of miles and arrive safely in Meng City. The tribulation that once died in her hands is simply incalculable. This Lu Dong dares to take action against his own husband. He is simply tired of life and doesn't even know how to write it. Don't be angry. This is Meng City, and you can't take action here. Otherwise, you will definitely be punished by the managers here. You can't act rashly. Sensing the killing intent deep in Bingyu's heart, Zhou immediately dissuaded her. If you really start fighting in Meng City, then there's no need to continue working in Meng City. Don't worry, I'm not one of those easy-to-kill cultivators. I'm just angry at that person's behavior. A little person like me might accidentally die in the wilderness one day. It's just that, my lord. Today is our great day. Don't let such a petty person ruin your mood. Bingyu chuckled and said that as a weak woman, she would definitely not do such a terrible thing as murder. But she had already made a decision in her heart, and as soon as Lu Dong left the city, she immediately began to ambush and eliminate future troubles. Okay. Zhou Sui nodded and temporarily put the matter behind him. After all, today is one's own big day, and Lu Dong is nothing. At this moment, many cultivators at the banquet also had different thoughts. Looking at the handsome and beautiful Zhou Sui and Bingyu, their hearts were also filled with immense emotion. I don't know, I never expected that Zhou would get married at the age of 18 and even marry a female cultivator with 9 levels of qi cultivation. This kid is quite lucky. Isn't that right? This woman has a fair and beautiful skin, and a strong cultivation level. What exactly is she interested in? Is she angry and good at living? She's really envious. Why doesn't a beautiful nun like me? I'm also pretty good in that area, with exceptional talent. TSK, keep boasting. Who wouldn't know that you have this skill? You have already become famous in the Flower and Willow Alley, nicknamed the money-sending boy, the best-earning guest of the year, and are known by the martial arts community as Lu Sansi. Fart, second your master, which girl spread the rumor? Hee, I don't know if it's a disaster or a blessing. Is this nun really interested in him? I think she's interested in this guy's house because she wants an old ox to eat tender grass and get both human and financial benefits. No way, if that's the case, wouldn't Zhou Sui be unlucky? These Black Widow-like female cultivators are all proficient in the art of nourishing, and soon Zhou Sui may be sucked into the workforce. Numerous cultivators are secretly discussing. They all felt that this female cultivator looked very unusual last week. After all, she was only one step away from becoming a foundation-building cultivator, as she had practiced 9 levels of Qi. What kind of person should not be interested in such a powerful female cultivator, but it happens that she is interested in a young cultivator who has improved her Qi. If this is not because she has a bad heart, then what is a bad heart? Just now, as I watched my relationship with Zhou's parents, I quietly went over to remind them that this woman may have ulterior motives and advised Zhou to be careful not to be misled by the witch. He couldn't grasp such a woman. But guess what that kid said, saying they were in love at first sight, a perfect match. Don't sow discord here. I'm sorry, this kid doesn't even pee to see what he really looks like. If it weren't for having a house at home, how could other nuns look up to you kid? A man named Shoduan became extremely angry. He felt that as a neighbor, he had made a reminder obligation, but was accused by the other party of stirring up trouble, making him seem like a cunning villain. He felt that this was simply a dog-tooth LV Dongbin, unaware of good people. It's hard to persuade a dead ghost with good words. Compassion does not turn away from oneself. This kid has this fate, and we can't dissuade him. That's right, it's better for you to be careful. If that nun hears about it, you'll have a good time. Isn't that right? Even if it could be a witch, the other party is still a cultivator with 9 levels of Qi cultivation. If you want to deal with us, it's just a matter of minutes. Poor Zhou, it seems that it won't be long before this witch picks him up and makes him a man. There's no way, this is Zhou Xiaozi's fate. If he sells his house and returns to the human world without stopping, he may still be able to survive, but if he reluctantly stays in Miyun City, he will be seeking his own death. In short, we are not familiar with Zhou Xiaozi either. It's just a neighbor's affair and has little to do with us. After drinking this wedding wine, let's go. This witch is still too dangerous. Numerous cultivators are discussing it one after another. They all felt that Zhou Sui was destined to die this time, and if he was targeted by an older female cultivator, he would definitely be recruited to become an adult. The chance of surviving is not very high either. These bastards' mouths are just too cheap. Old cows eat tender grass, my sister is still young, what tender grass to eat. Mu Zian beside her also heard these sounds and was instantly half angry. After all, the bride is her own sister, and she was actually considered a witch by these cultivators. It's really unreasonable. Forget it, it's a big day now, so there can't be any conflict. They can say whatever they want. Once today is over, we don't need to meet again. Xia Jingyan immediately dissuaded the Wei. To be honest, she also fully understands the feelings of these cultivators. If you put yourself in a different position and see a female cultivator with 9 levels of Qi cultivation and a cultivator with 1 level of Qi cultivation together, you will definitely feel that this female cultivator must have some ulterior motives and have long regarded that male cultivator as a cauldron. However, Bingyu is her own sister and has known her for many years. She naturally knows her sister's personality and is definitely not the kind of female cultivator who likes to pick and repair. Getting married is really a mutual pleasure, at least my sister likes it. But she doesn't need to tell others about this kind of thing, even if she says it, they won't believe it. What kind of charm does this guy have? Why does my sister like him so much? Xia Jingyan silently looked at Zhou Sui in the distance, feeling puzzled and curious. She had no idea why the exceptionally excellent Ji Bingyu's sister would like this ordinary man. Is it true, as other male cultivators have said, that this man has an ordinary appearance, but in fact, he is full of energy and good at living? He is extremely proficient in dual cultivation, and his talent is not exceptional. But no matter what she thinks, the wedding is still ongoing. Not long after, Zhou Sui and Ji Bingyu finished bowing and were sent to the cave, ending the wedding banquet. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The origin of Ji Bingyu, the former Golden Elixir family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The origin of Ji Bingyu, the former Golden Elixir family. One night passed, and the clouds dissipated and the rain rested. You practiced with the Taoist couple 8 times last night, and their hearts were connected, further intensifying their love. You have gained a certain level of swordsmanship experience, and your spiritual root qualifications have been improved to a certain extent. You have gained the opponent's true elemental power and your cultivation has been improved to a certain extent. At this moment, a message came from the depths of Zhou Sui's consciousness. After a night of double cultivation, he felt that the power of the true element in his body had greatly increased. If it were him practicing hard, it would probably take at least several months to increase his true elemental energy a little. But now, it's just one night of double cultivation, and the cultivation has been improved. If he continues like this, it won't be long before he can be promoted to the level of Qi cultivation at the 3rd level. The reason for the rapid progress is naturally due to Ji Bingyu. Due to the fact that the opponent is a cultivator who cultivates 9 layers of Qi, the true elemental power in his body is countless times greater than him. Even a small amount of infusion can greatly benefit him. This is like taking a tonifying pill every day, and it is still a pill without any side effects. Undoubtedly, the power of the Infatuated Gu is beyond imagination. After obtaining the Infatuated Gu, it is even more magical than any double cultivation technique. Their powers can blend into each other and be integrated. More importantly, Zhou Sui realized that there was a wealth of knowledge about swordsmanship in the depths of his consciousness. If he could swallow and digest all of this knowledge, he could also become a master of swordsmanship. Xianggong, you are really amazing. Ji Bingyu looked at Zhou Sui with affection, her beautiful eyes filled with love. Although her repeated double cultivation did not improve her cultivation, she felt that the power of her spiritual consciousness was constantly growing. It seemed that if this continued, she could grow into a foundational spiritual consciousness. This is of great benefit to her future foundation building. The reason for such benefits is naturally due to Zhou Sui's enormous soul power, which, due to his status as a traveler, makes his soul power exceptionally powerful, beyond the comparison of ordinary cultivators. Her love grew stronger and stronger, almost reaching the point of unwavering devotion to death. By the way, since we are all married, can you tell me exactly where you come from? Zhou Sui asked curiously, because he still didn't know where Ji Bingyu was from. As his own Taoist couple, he naturally has an obligation to understand everything about each other. I am from the Ji family in the state of Jin, and the Ji family used to be part of the Jindan family. Ji Bingyu explained, unfortunately, our ancestors of the Ji family died due to the depletion of their lifespan, and there were no new Jindan immortals born in a short period of time, which led to our Ji family being coveted by external enemies. On a dark and windy night, my Ji family was attacked by another Jindan family, Ouyang family, so the entire family was completely destroyed. Fortunately, the Ji family had already known about this, so they dispersed the tribe early on, and as a member of the legitimate lineage, I also fled with my parents. Unfortunately, the Ouyang family still did not let us go, constantly sending cultivators to pursue us. As a result, my clan members died one by one, including my parents. In the end, only my Ji Bingyu remained. In order to avoid the pursuit of the Ouyang family, I traveled a long distance and left the state of Jin. Along the way, I had to endure countless hardships and finally experienced many adventures. My cultivation level was elevated to the 9th level of Qi cultivation. She briefly explained her background. This. Zhou Sui widened his eyes. Although he had long known that Ji Bingyu had an extraordinary background, he did not expect that she had come from the Golden Dan family. However, her family was in decline and she was forced to come to Miyin City. Compared to herself, Ji Bingyu's background is truly remarkable. Of course, her enemies are also quite terrifying. They are a family with golden core cultivators, probably no less powerful than the overlord Xianxia sect with a radius of thousands of miles. This is a behemoth. If someone from the Ouyang family detects Ji Bingyu, it may be a series of pursuits. Don't worry, Xianggong. I used to be just a small person in the Ji family, not even valued by the Ouyang family. Moreover, it has been 20 years since the Ji family was destroyed, and I probably forgot about me long ago. Ji Bingyu said. She is only 35 years old now, which means that when she was around 15 years old, there was a family breakdown and destruction. Do you want revenge? Zhou Sui asked. Of course I want to, but I also have self-awareness. Blind revenge is just seeking my own death. Unless I can become a golden core cultivator, this hatred can only be hidden, even if it is hidden for a lifetime. Ji Bingyu is very open-minded. After 20 years of escape, although she still hates the Ouyang family, she is not as impulsive as she was when she was young. If there is no absolute certainty, she will not return to the state of Jin. So now her goal is to improve her cultivation. Why not join the Xianxia sect? According to your qualifications, joining those sects is probably a very simple thing. Zhou then knew that Ji Bingyu's qualifications were not simple, it was a 5th grade spiritual root, belonging to the level of moderate spiritual roots. Such talent, even among the Xianxia sect, can be considered a genius disciple. If Ji Bingyu reveals her talent, joining the Xianxia sect would be as easy as pie. Let's just forget it, I don't lack inheritance. The Ji family already has the inheritance of the golden elixir. If we join the Xianxia sect, it may expose our own martial arts and even our identity. After all, for the Xianxia sect, the Jin kingdom, which is tens of thousands of miles away, is simply within reach. Some of them must know the existence of our Ji family, so it's better not to take risks. Although becoming a casual cultivator may be a bit difficult, it is very free. Ji Bingyu explained. I see. How did your 2 sisters get to know you? Zhou Sui asked curiously. Well, this is another story. Ji Bingyu smiled slightly and said, although I also really want to tell you, this is the privacy of my 2 sisters. If there is a chance in the future, they may take the initiative to tell you, but for now, I can only keep it a secret temporarily. She said that after all, this is the privacy of the 2 sisters and it is not convenient to tell others. Okay. Zhou Sui nodded, although he also felt regretful, he understood. After all, no one has any secrets, there is no need to delve into everything. Perhaps by the time the infatuated child Gu on my body is born again, I will know the secrets of the other 2 women. End of this chapter. Chapter 9, Article 2. Gu Bu Meng Hun Gu. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9, Article 2. Gu Bu Meng Hun Gu. By the way, Xianggong, here are 3 bottles of true Yuan pills and 3 bottles of yellow dragon pills, which are very suitable for your cultivation. I believe with these pills, Xianggong will soon be promoted to the middle stage of Qi cultivation. At this moment, Ji Bingyu took out several bottles of pills from her storage bag and handed them to Zhou Sui. This. Seeing these pills, Zhou Sui's eyes lit up immediately, because the true Yuan pill was a commonly used pill by cultivators in the early stages of Qi cultivation. A bottle of true Yuan pill was worth hundreds of lower-grade spirit stones. And Huanglong Dan is a pill suitable for cultivators in the later stage of qi cultivation. A bottle of Huanglong Dan is worth 500 yuan as a lower-grade spirit stone. This is a pill that even former parents couldn't bear to buy, and it can be said to be valuable. But now, Bingyu suddenly took out several bottles, indicating her wealth. Rich woman, this is definitely a rich woman. After marrying this woman, not only did she receive a long-legged elder sister to warm her bed, but she was also taken care of by a wealthy woman. It seems that there is no need to worry about her early cultivation resources. It can only be said that he is truly a cultivator who cultivates 9 layers of qi. He is indeed too wealthy. Thank you, Yuer. Once I become a foundation-building cultivator, even a golden core cultivator, I will definitely avenge you and annihilate the Ouyang clan. Zhou Sui took the pill and immediately painted cakes for Bingyu, speaking loudly. He has long been familiar with driving light cars for such things. After all, when he becomes a golden core cultivator, the Ouyang family doesn't even know what the situation is, maybe it will be destroyed by other families long ago. Xianggong, you are really too kind to me. This is my storage bag, which not only contains my savings from many years, but also the treasures left by the former Ji family. Now all of them are entrusted to you, my lord, for safekeeping. According to the rules of my parents' family, a wife needs to entrust her property to her husband for management. As long as she has enough money to eat and drink, it is enough. Upon hearing these words, Bingyu's eyes immediately moistened, her heart twitched, and a warm current surged into her heart. He truly deserves to be the man he admires. He has always had himself in his heart. Although he is just a cultivator on the second level of qi cultivation, he actually wants to seek revenge for himself and confront the Golden Elixir family. He is simply a peerless good man. For such a Taoist couple, she wished she could spare no effort. What? Upon hearing these words, Zhou Sui realized that the effect of his pancake painting was incredibly good. He was extremely grateful and began to make the rich woman hand over his wealth. Thinking of this, he was immediately tempted. After all, this was the storage bag of the 9th level cultivator for qi cultivation, and he didn't know how many rare treasures he had collected. Perhaps there are materials that are suitable for refining gu insects on your own. After all, he is only refining the infatuated gu bu now, which can at most be considered as an auxiliary gu bu. He himself does not have any combat power, so he still needs to refine more gu bu to come out. Although Bingyu is now protecting himself, he also needs strong combat power. Otherwise, he would not have any sense of security. Cough cough, don't worry. You should manage the storage bag yourself, madam. Now that my cultivation is low, I don't need so much money. However, I do need some rare materials to assist. Let me take a look first. If I need it, just take it directly. Zhou Sui spoke loudly. Okay, Xianggong. Bingyu looked at Zhou Sui with affection, and her heart was even more moved. If it were an ordinary man, seeing so much money, he would probably have been ecstatic and had it in his pocket long ago. But my own man is different, treating money like dirt. Indeed, my husband loves me very much. Surprisingly, there are so many materials available. Zhou Sui widened his eyes and looked at the many materials in the storage bag, which were obtained by Bingyu through years of killing, robbing, and cultivating. Some of them were treasures collected by the Ji family in the past. If such materials are sold, they may be worth a lot. The value contained in this storage bag alone is not worth tens of thousands of inferior spirit stones. You should know that his predecessors' parents were also cultivators in the later stage of qi cultivation, but their annual wealth did not exceed 1,000 lower-grade spirit stones. From this point, it can be seen that Bingyu's wealth is extraordinary, even for ordinary foundation-building cultivators. At this moment, a message immediately came from the supreme treasure Gu Shen Bowl. We have found a suitable material for refining into gu bu, the ghost flower. May I ask if the host has started refining? Suitable material for refining into Gu Bu Bu Guehun flour. I see, is this the main material suitable for refining into Dream Soul Gu? Upon hearing these messages, Zhou Sui immediately noticed a black flower in the storage bag, filled with an evil aura that seemed to haunt countless vengeful souls, containing immense soul power. Obviously, this black flower is extraordinary and definitely an elixir. He was instantly filled with joy. To be honest, Dream Soul Gu is one of the Gu insects he has always wanted to refine, because the power of this Gu insect is extraordinary. It has abilities such as creating illusions, soul attacks, range perception, and soul searching for enemies. It can be said that the ability of Dream Soul Gu is comprehensive. If this kind of insect can be refined, his safety will be greatly guaranteed. Even when encountering powerful cultivators, he will have a certain degree of self-protection power. The most important thing is that his soul power itself is quite powerful. If combined with the power of Dream Soul Gu, it is equivalent to a strong alliance, and it will definitely be able to exert extraordinary power. The problem is that the grievance soul flower is a special spiritual medicine, worth thousands of lower-grade spiritual stones, which is quite valuable. Previously, he was shy and couldn't afford to buy it, and there was no such spiritual medicine sold in Miyun City. Who could have imagined that it was actually found on Bingyu? This is truly a place to search all over the world, and it takes no effort to obtain it. I want this spiritual medicine and also 300 inferior spiritual stones. Zhou Sui said straightforwardly. No problem. But what does Xiangong want from this grievance soul flower? Bingyu curiously asked. She didn't care about the value of this spiritual medicine at all. Anyway, she could give all her wealth to the man in front of her. What is a mere spiritual medicine? She was just curious about the purpose of her husband's use of this spiritual medicine. Well, it's mainly because my martial arts are special and I need this kind of spiritual medicine to practice. Zhou Sui explained. Okay. Bingyu nodded. She herself wanted to hand over the Gung golden sword technique of her Ji family to her husband. After all, it is a golden pill technique that is priceless. If it were to be sold, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. But my husband doesn't seem to have this idea at all. It seems that my family's Xiangong has a better cultivation method than the golden elixir, which is why he is not interested in my Ji family's cultivation method. Sure enough, my husband also had a great adventure with him. She did not have the intention of delving into the secrets of her husband, but instead, the better her husband is, the better it is. Who wouldn't want to see his husband Jackie Chan? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. 1 month later, Yunwu Mountain Range. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 10. 1 month later, Yunwu Mountain Range. In the blink of an eye, a month passed in a blink of an eye. During this period, Zhou Sui also practiced night and night with his Taoist couple Bingyu, almost 7 times a day, which was also very beneficial for both parties. Undoubtedly, this has led to a continuous increase in his cultivation level, and the true power of the element in his body continues to rise. In a few more days, he is highly likely to become a cultivator who cultivates 3 levels of qi. To be honest, he never expected his cultivation to improve so quickly, thanks to the bonus of double cultivation. Of course, with the assistance of pills, he saved a lot of cultivation time. However, for Zhou Sui, the most important thing was to use the power of the Gu God Bowl to refine the Dream Soul Gu. This is a transparent insect like a butterfly, merging with its soul, silent and without a trace. With the power of Dream Soul Gu, he can easily create a real illusion within a radius of 100 meters. Often, enemies who know nothing are dragged into illusions and lose their self-awareness. More importantly, the Dream Soul Gu actually allowed him to master the perceptual power similar to that of a foundation-building cultivator. Make it easy for him to perceive every move in an area hundreds of meters around. Even if an enemy wants to ambush him, he will instantly detect it. Undoubtedly, due to the birth of Dream Soul Gu, his combat effectiveness has been greatly improved. Even when facing cultivators with 4 or 5 levels of qi cultivation, he is fearless and can even easily counterattack. But he wouldn't foolishly fight against other cultivators. After all, his goal is to improve his cultivation, elevate his realm, and extend his lifespan, in order to pursue the path of longevity. Xianggong, it's not possible, it's really not possible. Ji Bingyu let out a coquettish snort, completely softened, her pretty face flushed, and she looked at Zhou Sui with immense admiration. After a night of war, she completely gave up. Are you really going out of the city? Zhou Sui hugged the beauty and couldn't help but ask with concern, because after resting in the city for a month, Ji Bingyu planned to go out of the city to hunt down monsters and search for spiritual medicine. You need to know why Miyun City became a city of scattered cultivation, because outside Miyun City is the Yunwu mountain range, stretching hundreds of thousands of miles, with at least 100,000 mountains inside. In the Yunwu mountains, there are countless monsters that survive, giving birth to a large amount of spiritual medicine and abundant spiritual energy. So countless cultivators came here to seek opportunities by entering the Yunwu mountains. But the Yunwu mountain range is really too dangerous, hiding countless powerful monsters, and there may also be many unscrupulous cultivators hidden deep in the Yunwu mountains. If one is not careful, they will die in the Yunwu mountains. In the past, his parents wanted to go deep into the Yunwu mountains to search for treasures, but ended up dying tragically. It can be said that countless cultivators die every year in the Yunwu mountains. That's right, I can't just stay at home and sit idly by. Although I have stored a lot of spirit stones, they will always be used up, so I have to take risks and earn them. Ji Bingyu comforted and said, you don't need to worry about my safety either. I am a cultivator with 9 levels of qi and a sword cultivator. With the help of my 2 sisters, I will definitely be safe and sound. She said that for the next path of cultivation, she still needs to take risks outside the city. Otherwise, staying in the city and eating nothing will sooner or later consume all resources completely. Okay, I understand. Zhou Sui nodded, fully understanding Ji Bingyu's thoughts. Although cultivators who practice the 9th layer of qi have many ways to earn money, they also need to spend a lot of money. If you don't go deep into the Yunwu mountains and hunt monsters, how can you earn spirit stones? The many spirit stones on Ji Bingyu's body were not obtained out of thin air, but through repeated adventures. So he has no reason to stop the other party. It seems like there's a way to make money in Miyun City, so there's no need to venture deep into the Yunwu mountains. Zhou Sui's eyes lit up, and he couldn't bear to let his charming Taoist couple venture deep into the Yunwu mountains. So he must find a stable source of income. Only in this way will their Taoist companions not go on adventures in the wilderness. With the power of the Gu God Bowl, he didn't believe he couldn't find a way to make money. The reason why I didn't do this before was because according to my own cultivation, even if I earn money, I can't hold on. On the contrary, the more money he earns, the faster he dies, and he is not so foolish. But now it's different. With the power of Ji Bingyu, earning a lot of money is no longer the way to die. So it's also time for him to develop a profitable channel. At this moment, in the hall, Mu Ziyan and Xia Jingyan are also waiting. Crazy, my sister is completely crazy. This month has been like a night of singing, I can't even think of Sichuan. Can things like men and women really make people linger like this? Xia Jingyan's pretty face turned red and she gritted her teeth. Thinking of this month's experience, I can't help but feel extremely angry, because these 2 shameless Taoist couples always sing loudly at night, regardless of whether others can or cannot bear it. You should know that she is a big yellow flower girl, she has never experienced such a thing before. To tell you the truth, if she hadn't loved each other and sisters, she would have been unbearable to move out of here. In the end, she had no choice but to set up a silent barrier in her room to solve the problem. Cluck, is this something we can't do? Who made my sister just get married? It's normal for a newlywed yener to be married. Mu Ziyan chuckled and said, this is very normal. Sister Mu, how do you understand so much? Xia Jingyan is very curious. She always feels that although Mu Zian is younger than herself, she knows more things than herself. Well, it's all about the family's words and deeds. Who would have let my father be such a man? There are hundreds of concubines in the family, and I don't even know. Mu Zian said helplessly. What? Upon hearing these words, Xia Jingyan's mouth twitched, unsure of what to say. It seemed that Sister Mu's family environment was also very complex, no wonder she knew so much. Cough, what are you talking about? At this time, Bingyu came out of the room dressed neatly, her pretty face still left a tinge of blush, and she looked at the two sisters, feeling a little guilty. Sister, it's about time we started chatting. Mu Zian said with a smile, taking note of what had just happened. Yeah, the person our sister asked us to watch over before has also left the city, so we can take this opportunity to solve it together. I have left a mark on the other person, it's useless no matter where I escape. Xia Jingyan immediately said. Really? That's really great. Let that guy live an extra month, which counts as his fortune. Let's go. Bingyu's beautiful eyes showed a deep killing intent. End of this chapter.